YouTube! Welcome back. Today I want to discuss some media that I've consumed. It's a format I've seen a couple times and I thought I'd join the club because I consume a lot of things and I think it's really important and also just very interesting to reflect on what I consume and kind of decide what I like about it, what I don't like about it, and just to discuss all the interesting things I've been seeing and reading and listening to. I'm a little bit sick, so I have some tea here, so feel free to grab a drink or a snack and join me on a little chit-chat, because this might be a long one today. Originally, I was going to make a video about media consumed in February, but it is now April, and I still have not filmed that video. So we're just going to do kind of February, a little bit of March, kind of the things that I remember. But yeah, let's get into it. Let's start with some books. The first book I read in February was Normal People by Sally Rooney. I had seen it a lot on social media and thought I would join in on it. It took a while for me to get into it, which it usually does for books, but I don't know, just the writing style and everything is a bit different than from what I would normally read. Once I got into it, though, I felt like it was an easy read. Editing me here currently, that gave little to no information what the book is about. So, it's a coming-of-age romance story, but they aren't actually together most of the part in the book. It's about them being in high school together. The guy being popular, she kind of an outsider, but still they have a relationship, and in the beginning it's secret, and they get to know each other more and more, and he is really fascinated by her, and they feel very comfortable with each other. And after high school, I don't remember exactly, but their ways part, and they keep writing letters to each other and occasionally seeing each other. They both have their own relationships, their own lives, and it's about how, even though they have separate lives and are doing their own thing, they still remain in each other's lives throughout the whole entire story and always keep in contact. And yeah, there's still always this sort of romance to their relationship, even if it's disguised as a friendship, basically. And even if they are with other people. I'm not going to spoil what the end is. But I remember the end being very sad also, if I'm correct. I honestly don't remember that well. But I remember it left me feeling very intense as well, and that I liked the book in the end. I found this book very relatable in a lot of ways, and liked the play on that sometimes you still keep someone in your life, even if you're not in a romantic relationship or not in an official relationship, just because you really like the person, and it might be better to just have them as a friend than not having them at all. But that comes with a lot of difficulties and feelings and communication, or lack of communication as well. Something you can read, but I don't think it was like the hype that I had seen it from. Didn't meet that expectation, I guess, that I had. But still, I enjoyed it in the end. Next, I read a book that I don't have here, and this was so good. I read this throughout February and March in between other things, because it has short chapters that you can kind of read every now and then. It's not an ongoing story. Want by Gillian Anderson. She plays in Sex Education. She's an actor, and it's a collection of letters that women wrote her about their sexual fantasies, and it was such an interesting book. So the goal with this book was to take away the shame surrounding sexuality that many women have. And yeah, I thought that was a really cool and really interesting concept. There were some very interesting things in there, and also kind of cool to see what I could relate to, or what I was like, okay, I can't really connect with that fantasy at all. But still, it was very interesting. So I can definitely recommend to give that a read to get some different perspectives and new ideas, and yeah, to just take away the shame surrounding the topic of sexuality. It's something we all deal with and all experience, and I feel like a book like that can be a tool to get to know yourself and your sexuality better. So I really, really enjoyed that. And there's a second part coming out soon, which I'm really excited for. I definitely want to read that too. Finally, the last book is Madonna in a Fur Coat, which, wow, this I think is, I don't know, one I really liked, but like story-wise, this is definitely also my favorite of the top 3. This also took me a while to get into, but in the end, I loved it so much. It's another love story. So in the beginning, you have a story of another guy who meets a man that is sick and unhappy, and he is kind of taking care of him a little bit, but you don't really know much about this person. He then goes on to find his diary, a really, really personal entry, and begins to read it. And it's about the old man's love story with Madonna in a fur coat. He sees this painting of Madonna in a fur coat and is completely obsessed with it and ends up meeting the woman, and they have a romantic relationship as well. That is very blurry, kind of along the lines of if it's an actual relationship or not. They don't title it as a relationship, but they are very much in love. And you kind of go through the patterns of them talking about love, but not really being able to be 100% honest with each other and allowing that intimacy. In the end, they end up parting ways and not seeing each other. And yeah, it goes on from then. I don't want to spoiler, but it's a very dramatic end, and the book just keeps getting better and better as you read it. I spoke about this in my last vlog, so go check that out if you want an in-depth review, because I don't want to say the same things doubled, but I loved it. It explores topics of love, intimacy, loss and grief, and kind of the meaning in life. Like for me, the takeaway was if there's no love, passion, or desire, there's no meaning in life, and life can feel very lifeless. And yeah, I think that's true. I believe that as well, and I really felt very inspired. Very emotional and sad after reading this, but also I kind of took away that objective that I often also come back to, is that without love, life is meaningless, and that's really the greatest thing we have to experience human connection and to be able to live and flow with one another. A friend of mine once said, relationships are like a dance. You have to kind of try to find each other's rhythm, and you can get offbeat, but it's always the point of getting back to one another. And that's not really what that book was about, but I find that fitting still to the topic of the book, if that makes sense. Those were the books. Next, let's continue on with films and series. First, I have noted down Even If the Love Disappears Tonight, which is a Korean movie, I think. A friend of mine recommended it to me, and it was really good and really sad. I cried in the end, but a beautiful movie. It's about a girl who has amnesia and wakes up every day forgetting what happens the day before. It's another love story. She ends up falling in love with a guy, or more, he falls in love with her, and it's her boyfriend, but she forgets about him every day. And it's about their story, how he tries to make every day as memorable as possible for her so that she eventually starts to remember. And in the end, it takes a turn, and it's really sad but beautiful at the same time. And I really liked that recommendation.
Another one I'm going to redo here because I was a bit all over the place that day. So, Lost in Translation is set in Japan, in Tokyo. I feel like it really captured the feeling of the city. I've never been to Tokyo, but I really felt like the aesthetics of the movie were super, super nice. And the cinematography, I really, really enjoyed that aspect of the movie. And it also has a very, very slow pace, which I personally really enjoyed. I feel like it makes you need to be more aware of things to look for, basically, or just gives you time to really take in the ambience and the scenes and the story. There's not that much happening in the movie itself. It's about a old man who goes to Tokyo to travel for business, and a woman who is accompanying her husband for his business trip to Tokyo. Both of these characters are kind of in a midlife crisis. They both feel really lost and really lonely, and both don't know what they're doing in Tokyo in Japan, basically. Right from the start, there's a lot of language barriers and a lot of miscommunication, people just kind of talking past each other and over each other, and actual words aren't very meaningful, and the conversations aren't very meaningful, but that's the whole point of the movie, is that everyone feels very lonely and lost and misunderstood. But I had a hard time watching the movie at the same time because the two main characters are basically like the woman's cheating on her husband and the guy's cheating on his wife and family, and I feel like there was no real consequences for that, or that was also not the main focus of the movie. Like, it wasn't really clear if they had a romantic relationship or if they were more friends or what it was developing as. Like, it was all just very unclear. I understand why it's that way and I understand the message that it's sending, but still, that just felt difficult for me to kind of watch and sit through in a way, if that makes sense. All in all, I'd say it's a good movie. It really captured a feeling of loneliness and isolation. There's these two people that are completely different ages and they're in such a similar situation, so it doesn't really matter like what age you're in or what stage of life. If you're lonely and unhappy in your life situation, you can feel very similar ways, which I like that and can recommend giving it a watch. Yeah, I don't really know how to rate it because, like I said, I had really mixed feelings, and yeah, that's all on Lost in Translation.
The next movie I watched was Silence of the Lambs. I have never watched Silence of the Lambs. I was sick, so I ended up just watching a lot of movies, and yeah, I really, really liked that movie, actually. I thought it was a really good movie. It was insane. That's all I'm going to say about that. I watched Blue Velvet, which had been on my movie list for a long time. I really, really liked that movie. Low-key, very disturbing movie. I don't even know how to summarize this movie. It felt like a fever dream. My notes on this one are really engaging. Loved the editing and the symbolism. That was beautiful in the movie. Every little symbol had meaning, and it's especially about how humans have a good and a bad side, like the dark and the light side, and how you have to tap into the dark side to come out on the good side again, or make that decision for yourself if you want to stay there or come out on the good side, basically. So it's a lot about your morals, and had a lot of moral conflict in the movie, for sure. And the one symbolism that I really liked was, I wrote down the bird at the end eating the cockroach, because in the beginning of the movie you see cockroaches, and that's like the dark side. And then throughout the movie, I don't remember what it was, but there was a symbolism of a bird, and the very last scene is the bird eating that cockroach, which signifies that the bird, the good, wins. But once you've tasted the bad, though, so it still has like the cockroach in its mouth, kind of putting both of them together, which, yeah, I thought that was crazy. And I just loved the editing. It was really unconventional and had really cool transitions, and the cinematography was really cool. I really liked the music as well. Left me thinking about it for days. I felt like I was still like in that world of that movie. It reminded me of Eyes Wide Shut. When I watched Eyes Wide Shut, I had kind of the same feeling, which is also a really bizarre, disturbing movie, but I also liked that one. So if you've seen that, that's kind of similar. It really goes into the dark side of humanity, and it's low-key very disturbing, so in case you want to watch this, just keep that in mind. And finally, last week I watched a movie about Egon Schiele, the artist whose painting I also have here on my wall. Controversial human being. I don't agree with a lot of things that he did, to be honest. But I really like his art, and I really enjoyed the movie as well. I have to admit, I fell asleep in the last 10 minutes because I was so tired, but I liked it up until the part. I really liked the vibe of Vienna in the early 1900s and the artist communities, and that whole world that they created in the movie. I thought that was really well done. Alright, I decided to finish the video here. I had planned to talk about all the series and songs and just maybe a couple other things that I saw or listened to, but I felt like this was already enough. Maybe I'll make a part 2. I don't know. Let me know if you like this format. Let me know if you've read any of the books or watched any of the movies and what you thought of them. I would love to discuss more about it if you have any input. And yeah, otherwise, not much more to say. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.